What's up, everybody? Zach here with Eat, Sleep, Anime. I'm joined along with the Pip Squeak himself, Derek Daniel. How's it going, my man?
I'm good until you made that comment.
You gonna fight me over it?
Yeah, I know. I may not be as short as Ed, but I'm going to have his temper. I'm going to fight
you. Guys, welcome to this very special and impromptu Eat Sleep Anime. We're going to be talking about Full Alchemist Brotherhood. Let us know that you're here down in the comments below. I already see Dan, I already see Nate. We normally do these shows once every quarter, but I just finished Fullmetal Alchemist, and I didn't want to wait until we got the next show.
I know. I didn't. We can't wait another month and a half, because then by then all your immediate thoughts and hype would have died down. Like,
yes.
You wouldn't have remembered everything. So we got to seize the moment, as some would say.
Yeah, we got to seize the moment. We got to
strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah, we got you know what I mean?
Like just Roy Mustang rage.
Yeah, you got to do it. You got to do it, guys. Yeah. If you haven't watched Fullmetal Alchemist, I don't know why I waited this long to watch the show.
You just need like someone like me to whisper in your ear and tell you, hey, it's a good show. It's a good story. You need to watch it.
Exactly. Like
as the old Funimation tagline used to be back in the day, Funimation, you should be watching.
Yeah. So finally got to this, and I've been blown away. Dan says, it's been a while since I've seen it, so I might be a bit fuzzy on details, but I do remember it was good. 100%.
So good, man.
So good. We might spoil some things. Okay. I'm just going to be honest.
No, we're not. No, might. We are going to spoil.
We're going to spoil this thing. So
the anime came out in 2009. So if you haven't watched it by now, like, yes, I know Dan just said he's fuzzy, but he's at least watched it. If you haven't watched it by now, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah. Don't be like me. Go remedy this right now. Mikey, what's up, my man? Hope you're doing well.
Oh, what up, Mike? Also, shout out to Mike. Happy, let me get this right, 9th anniversary to him and his wife Elizabeth. That's their wedding anniversary today.
Happy anniversary. That's awesome. Nate says, currently on episode 33 of my 4th watch through. Wow.
Man, dedicated.
That's impressive. Nate really likes it, clearly. So impressed with this show. Like, I know on our last episode, which eventually will come out for everybody. If you want to watch it, go over to patreon.com right now. You can totally get it for free over there. But you said that this was kind of the turn where, like, anime was getting a little bit more like mature in its storytelling. It wasn't just like beat 'em up, especially shown in like battle anime.
Oh yeah.
But this was so good. I definitely, from the one season I've watched Attack on Titan, I definitely can see the DNA of Full Metal on Attack on Titan. And
so let's get into it, Zach. So I know you finally watched it. You finally, what's the word I'm looking for? Undid that sin. You finally, I forget what the official term is, the official phrase that I used to use, but you finally watched it. What was, so like, take us through your journey. Like you don't have to recount all 64 episodes, but just like, what was your initial thought like when you first started it? Like, did it grab you, or was it like a slow burn for you?
So the first episode, I was like, I don't understand what the crap is going on.
Yeah.
Because they jump right into like the action and alchemy and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, all right. I was like, I guess I'll figure this out.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, I'm glad that they did that instead of the normal anime where it's just like lots of world building and trying to explain everything. It's like showing me and then tell me how all of this works. Way better storytelling. And like seeing all the characters like develop over the time. Like the beginning, I was like, okay, Maze is really freaking annoying. And
Yeah,
then
like he was that lovable idiot, but he also got annoying. By the way, he is voiced by the one and only Sonny Strait, which is Krillin, uh,
mm,
Dragon Ball. He is also Reed Destro from My Hero Academia.
okay. So like it was like it wasn't bad in the beginning. It was like, okay, this feels like a little bit older of an anime, but
Hmm.
I like that it was very to the point. Like there wasn't really a lot of fluff, and where it would be, kind of more serious things, they would put some humor throughout it. So it definitely feels like a modern anime in that way. Because more of the anime that I watch now has a lot more humor in it. Like not
Right.
just slapstick stuff, but Ed and Alphonse, they are such great characters.
Yes, they are. Like you can
And
tell they're legitimate brothers.
yes, and the world building that they do in this story, like it just keeps getting deeper and
Yep.
deeper and deeper.
Yep.
And it's like, holy moly, what else and then you get another layer and another one and another one. It's like, where is DJ Khaled at? Like,
Another one.
yeah. So like the beginning, it's like I wasn't expecting the dog episode, like 4 episodes in or whatever it was.
Bro,
I was
I
like,
don't remember that because I remember watching the original, like
yeah.
the non-canon one, and I felt like that was more like middle of the way, and so I was expecting that for Brotherhood, and it like you 4 episodes in, like, oh boy, we already at this part.
Yeah, I was just like, oh man, this is right off the bat. And just the way that like everybody's kind of morally gray, except
Yes,
for the brothers.
yeah,
Like they're the only ones that are not morally gray because they refuse to kill anybody. They
right.
refuse to like harm people if they can, get around that. They
Well,
want to,
and as we've seen, like their whole journey is to get Alphonse's body back. Because
yeah,
there's a reason why Edward lost an arm and a leg and Alphonse lost his body, and that's their whole journey is to get like because Edward could care less. He's got both his limbs, but he's got two other limbs, but he wants to get his brother's body back,
yeah,
and I think that's why because they saw like the horrors that took them to that place
yeah,
that started this whole journey. They're just like, we need to have a little bit more value in life because there's a
hmm,
cardinal sin in alchemy, and you can't revive a human being. It's just physically not impossible unless it is with a philosopher's stone. And that's part of their journey that they're taking on. But they also understand the value of human life, and I think that's why they stay true to themselves and not like they don't wallow in the muck with everyone else that's in this moral gray area of
yeah,
like, it's for our cause. So what's a few people's deaths? What does
yeah.
that mean to us?
Yeah, and like you see that across the board. Like, yes, they did do human transfiguration, transmutation, and like that was their wake up call because they were kids. They were trying to bring
Yeah,
back their mom and everything.
yeah,
And then when you find out that that was Alphonse, like I was just like, oh my god, this is.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
it literally did cost Edward an arm and a leg to get his brother back.
yeah.
Um, you know what I mean? So, but definitely worth it. But even like seeing the state of like the government
Oh yes,
was so interesting that everyone put their faith in the government, the military power, and how absolute power corrupts absolute.
absolutely.
And that was just so well done in this world. Like I
Mhm.
was very because when you see the Fuhrer the first few times, you're like, okay, he's kind of nice, but you get that kind of that little sense
Like
of
he's
like,
he's like a little too nice, like
yeah,
that.
it's
It's like not like I'm gonna steal your children vibe, but somewhat close to that. I was like, I should stay arm's length from you.
yeah, it was like there's something off here. And then Scar, which is essentially the bad guy at the beginning,
Yeah.
it's like you start learning more and more about the Ishvalan war and everything, and you're just
Yes.
like, my gosh, it's like,
Scar
yeah,
becomes the anti-hero like in the beginning because Scar's whole thing is like I need to kill all alchemists, and he finds Edward and Alphonse, and then he figures out it's like maybe not all of them are bad, but
Yeah.
and he's starting to develop. It's like, all right, who is my true enemy here?
Hmm.
And voiced by the great J. Michael Tatum in
Yeah.
this. Like, it's so
Sarah
well done.
Jessica
Like,
Parker.
shut up. It's Johann Sebastian Bach. But no, like, and he's such a very complex character. And like, you find out when you like you said, the Ashfallen Warren, like, find out his history with his brother. Like, there's a lot of brothers symbolism in this show
Yeah.
throughout this whole show, and you find out his involvement with his brother and like why he does what he does, and he's just like, yeah, you kind of almost sympathize with him, and you kind of almost are like, I don't blame dude. Like he
Yeah.
is justified in his rights, but he needs to kind of chill also, because he needs to focus and not just have this blood rage on just.
Yeah.
And he's like, you said you're an alchemist, must kill you. I'm like, bro, chill. Not all alchemists are bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And his character, like, everybody grows
Yes.
in this story except the homunculi and the father. They're the
Right.
only ones, and they're the ones that want to become perfect beings or think that they're perfect and all of that. And, to Dan's comment, that's even more relevant today, talking about the government and control and all of that. It's like, when you think that you're infallible, when you think you're above others, you don't grow.
No.
You are limiting yourself, and like
You sit on your 5-gallon bucket.
yeah, and it's like you're a horrible person. You know what I mean? It's like when you think you're better than other people, that is going to be the thing. And it kind of like, I'm watching Mob Psycho right now, and great show, by the way. But one of the things that Mob is told by his master is, you're not more special than other people. He's like, some people are fast, some people are smart, some people are really strong, some people have bad BO. Like, your powers are yours. Like, they make you unique, but that doesn't make you better than anyone else.
Correct.
And just the way they weave this whole story, like, the characters are so memorable. Like, Major Armstrong, my God.
Yeah. The voice by the great Chris Sabat.
Exactly. I did a video, I think last week or this week, about it, and it's like, can you have an anime without Chris Abbott? An English dub of an anime without him?
Right.
I
There
don't think
has
so.
been, and but not all of them are great.
Yeah, yeah. So like, just everybody having their own things, and like, he's this big mountain of a man, and he's like all muscled up, but he's a softy at heart. I love that juxtaposition. And then you see Olivier, which is his sister, and
complete opposite.
Yeah, she's more like, she's not necessarily petite, like, she's a strong fighter, but compared to her brother, she's a lot smaller, but
she's slender.
Yeah, but she is like way more rigid and like does
pragmatic.
not. Yeah, and the way they craft all of these, they're not necessarily main characters, but the way they craft them into the story is so good. Like, it is a masterclass of storytelling within the show. Like, I think about what they were able to do in 64 episodes of this version. The original I haven't watched, and apparently there were like more homunculi in the original version. I didn't know that.
They deviated from the manga at a certain point.
But with this, I feel like this is like way better storytelling than most of the big anime that we have out there.
Right.
Like, I think about Naruto. I love Naruto, but the storytelling gets so muddled at times.
Yeah.
Because of all the other things. And then you just have Naruto, screaming Sasuke a bunch. But it's
and then 20 Rasengans and then Talk no Jutsu.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, that didn't work. So tell me about your childhood. You know what I mean? It's like, did you have a swing set? Because I had a swing set, sad flute music. But this is just so well crafted, and I think that's that is par for the course of when you get a masterclass storyteller. So yeah, I want to catch a few of these comments, and then you can ask me more questions because I feel like I'm rambling a little bit. Nate says, interesting thing I picked up on Xerxes is like an ancient Middle Eastern like place. The Emestrians are like Germans and the Jing people are Chinese as far as geographically the Middle East. Also, Babylon is like the birthplace of civilization. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. To Olivier, she will straight up kill you for looking at her funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Nate says FMA tells a story and gets to the point. And that's
Correct.
the thing that I liked. Like 64 episodes and then you're done. So
yep.
Derek, ask me more questions, my thoughts, so you can kind of guide me a little bit more.
So okay, going back. So now going to the opposite side, right? Like the homunculi and father, like just their purpose for what they are, like finding out what the homunculi are, and like basically representing the 7 deadly sins, like and like the twist you find out for some of who the homunculi are, like finding out that they're pretty much philosopher's stones essentially in them, and then finding out what it takes to make a philosopher's stone, and it's almost like, you know, I equate this to Dragon Ball GT, like in the sense of like the Shadow Dragon saga. Like each of the Shadow Dragons was born of a certain wish, you know, the negative energy of that. Like each of the homunculi was born out of a certain war that was, you know, like a whole or a sacrifice that was used to make them. Because to make a Philosopher's Stone, you have to sacrifice, what is it, like at least 10,000 people?
It's a lot. I can't remember the exact number.
It's thousands of people that you have to sacrifice. So pretty much whole cities, whole civilizations, like pretty much that's why Scar like is on his mission, because the Ishvalan War basically turned into a breeding ground for to create a Philosopher's Stone and created a homunculi. What was your overall thoughts on the villain side of this?
I thought it was pretty well done. Like having lust, greed, pride, gluttony, envy, and then wrath as well. And the revealing of some of those characters I thought was done so well. Like the little, and Sloth also. So like having like little bits of them, because you see gluttony pretty early on, him and lust pretty early on, and envy, but it's like you don't really get to know them more until a little bit later. And then even the goal, like it's like, oh, they're wanting to sacrifice like everybody, but it's like you don't fully understand what the actual goal is until it's happening near the end, and you're like, like they are written so well. And Father, dude, I was like, okay, what is the deal? Why does he look like Hohenheim? And I was like, okay, is this Hohenheim? And then I was like, okay, maybe not, because like Hohenheim, like you see him different places and he doesn't look as pasty and like that sort of deal. But then you start learning that like he was the dwarf in the flask, and like Hohenheim is like centuries old, and he was the one that brought alchemy to Jing and taught them. And it was just like all these things were done so well. And you know, Father being so prideful that literally was the first homunculi that he made. Was to get pride out of him, and he wanted to be nothing like humans, but like that was his downfall, because he didn't have those things to keep him in check as well.
So and I mean, for a story to be really in depth and good, you're only as good as your villain, and you're only as good as your side supporting cast as well. So we'll go back to the father in a little bit, but Roy Mustang, like I feel like he was definitely like he and Hawkeye. I feel like Hawkeye not so much, but like they were together. But Mustang, I felt like rounded out that cast the best, because he had such a great arc. Because like you'll see, there's a couple characters in Attack on Titan that it's like a later season, but it kind of feels like the same, where it's like, oh, you killed somebody that I admired or like was friends with.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's my life's goal to get after you. Like
Yeah.
his whole arc of like getting revenge for Hughes getting killed, and
Yeah.
then you know, because I know it was early on in the show, but I know you didn't really care for Hughes, but did you get any kind of emotional out of Hughes's death?
Yeah, like he grew on me. Like he did die pretty early in the show, but he did
Yeah.
grow on me as it went. And like Envy turning into his wife,
Oh,
dude, that was like so
yeah.
freaking cold. And then like him doing like turning into Hughes's wife in front of Mustang, and Mustang's like you're admitting all of this to the wrong dude, and
Yeah,
just like
you're barking up the wrong tree.
like 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 that moment was so big because it was it was setting the stakes that anyone can die in this
Yeah,
show,
yeah.
you know, and that right there, and then Rosa like getting like blamed, dude, when she escapes and then runs in the Mustang, and then you see, I was like, I was literally losing my mind. I
I
was like,
know. I
holy
thought it's like,
crap.
oh my god. I was like, oh no, Mustang snapped. Like he
Yeah.
got the he's just in a blood rage right now. It's like, oh wait, no, he got the right one.
Yeah, like I was like, oh my god. And
Yeah,
then, you know, they showed the switcheroo in the next episode, but I was just like, I was with Ed. I was like, this dude needs to go down now. I was
I
like,
know.
okay, I understand, but my God, she was innocent. And like I was so mad at that point. But like that again, it goes back to the storytelling and the character development and him, you know, being smart enough not to fall for that lie. You
Mhm.
know, it's like, okay, I know you wouldn't do this. You know, it just felt like a setup essentially, but dude, like that was such a good moment.
Well, and like you have your first not only did Hughes's death impact, but then you have like the first like real like impactful like because you know for a while it was a meme, you know, like at the gravesite and you see Hawkeye and Mustang there, and Mustang just says it's a bad day for rain, and Hawkeye's like it's sunny out, and then you just see him like pull his hat down over his face while tears are running. I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, like that's when you knew. I'm like, if he ever catches these jokers, it's on site. It's like
Yeah.
it's like Stitch Face in Jujutsu Kaisen. It's on site. Like no questions asked. I don't even care to ask questions. You just dying.
Yeah. And like the other seven sins, I feel like Sloth was very interesting.
Mhm.
What a pain. Like
Right, and
it was
Shikamaru.
it was definitely like Shikamaru, like on steroids, you know.
Yeah.
But Gluttony, I felt like was just like a kid. Like he was just like a
Oh yeah.
big kid.
Now
Eh,
Gluttony was more like a kid slash dog because you know
yeah,
he was like he attached himself to lust like a hound
yeah.
because and especially once you find out like all like each of them have like a special ability
Hmm.
obviously that kind of coincide with their sin except for Sloth, and you know it makes sense for Sloth because it's like you wouldn't expect it. Like Sloth like, all right, we have time to set up, and it's like shoom, no you don't.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, like Gluttony, even when Gluttony and Alphonse like travel together to father, like he's such a again kind of like a dog. It's like take me to your father and everything. You're
Yeah.
just like okay, and like because that's when Edward and Lee and all of that and Envy
Mhm.
go into his stomach, which was a crazy moment as well in
Bro,
the
like,
show.
and then finding out he's a gate to like the truth, essentially. I'm like, bro, like
Yeah,
this is like, like it's so it's like they and they hit you so kind of fast with some of this stuff, and you're trying to process it all, but then they kind of like, all right, we threw a lot at you, but we're gonna slowly we're gonna smooth it out for you. We're gonna like explain all of it. I'm like, cool, and then you know, like taking it too farther. And like you said, it's like he looks just like Von Hohenheim. And it's like, what? Like,
yeah.
and you're starting to question, it's like, all right, what does that make Ed and Al? Because Von Hohenheim is their dad. And it's
Hmm.
like, what does that make them? And then you later find out, it's like, no, then you later find out he was the first homunculi. And I'm like, okay, this makes better sense. But still, like, why, like, that initial shock of, because even Ed is looking as like, father. He's like, I'm
Yeah.
not your father, boy.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if they explained this. This is just my like thought on it. Like, because Hohenheim is their father, like their actual father, but homunculi are not supposed to be able to have kids.
Right. I don't
So
remember if it's been a while since I've seen it too, so I don't remember if that gets explained or not. I feel like it did, but I don't remember the loophole around it.
yeah, it might be in the manga.
Yeah.
But my thought is because he made peace with all of the souls within him, which I thought
Yeah.
was such a like he's literally had so much time to make, you know, Hohenheim was the yeah, I know he was the slave. So okay, so but wouldn't that make Bradley be able to have kids as well?
Yeah. Good point.
His longevity comes from the stone. I understand that, but I'm just curious, like why he was able to have kids when, like it. They talk about it pretty early on that homunculi, when Edward and Alphonse are small, they like say something like that. But him making amends and like making relationships and learning everybody and like having this plan, like the
Mhm.
plan, like oh my
We'll
gosh,
get
and
to
like
that. We'll get to that in a minute.
yeah, yeah. What's your
Um,
next question?
Talking about emotional moments,
Mhm,
how was it like? So there was a couple episodes where Alphonse went on his own. I
mhm,
forget for what, but then he comes across other armors that are embodied by people, and that whole arc of like, is it
mm,
the real Alphonse? Like, is it someone else? Is it someone else's soul that's been
yeah,
replaced with him? Like, because the other two were murderers, and they
mhm,
just like somehow or other got uh, put in these suits of armor like the same way Al did. So it's like him struggling with his inner self. Like, am I the real Alphonse? Like, is this like what am
yeah,
I like? And then like freaking out, like, and then him and Al butting heads over it for a little bit. Like, was that because that kind of for me that hit because it's like, man, like at the time we didn't even until we found out until Ed went into the truth, like was at the gate that we didn't know like these were valid questions because we didn't know how the process worked. Like we just saw Ed quickly before his brother's soul got completely lost, bind him to that suit of armor. We don't know the process. And then like these guys seem to have like obviously they were trying to mess with their head, with
yeah,
Al's head, but at the same time it's like there's always some sort of truth in a lie. That's what makes it that what makes the lie good. And it's
yeah,
like, all right, like what is the process? Like, is this how they did it, or were these guys just different?
yeah, yeah. Like Barry the Chopper was an interesting character, and
Mhm,
posing that question to Alphonse, I feel like there was some truth to it.
mhm.
But I also feel like it was like him trying to get a leg up in the fight,
Yeah,
as well, trying to get him off balance, at least mentally, so he could take him down. But I do think that was a good set of episodes where he is questioning, he is wondering, am I the real Alphonse? And I thought it was when Winry was there and Edward's
mhm.
like, I know how to figure this out if you're the real one.
Yeah.
And then like ask the question of like, what did Winry say to you when you wanted to like marry her or whatever, like
Oh
when you were
yeah.
kids. And they said it at the same time, and he's like, okay, he's like, I wouldn't have known the real answer or whatever, because I wasn't the one told this. And yeah, what were you gonna say, Derek?
Oh no, I was just gonna say that's a very good point because and it's like and it was just a nice little side story. It put the spotlight on Al for a little bit, just because he feels like such a side character. Like even though it's like the show revolves around both the brothers, it feels like Ed is getting like the bulk of the spotlight, and this is like a nice little thing for Alphonse just to shed a little light into his psyche, into like because
Hmm.
he is the younger brother. He is
Yeah.
so he's a little bit more immature than Ed is. Like Ed can be immature too because they're both still kids, but Al is definitely being the youngest is definitely showing signs of immaturity. So it's like man, what do I do?
Yeah.
Um, And that was just a nice little wrap up. My next question, going off of that, is what just where was I going with this? Like, oh, the other cast of characters, like, what was the little girl?
May.
May, like her bringing into and like them doing a different form of alchemy. Like, was that like what did you think of her? And like, because she also had a pet too, right?
Yeah. Oh God, what is Shun Lee or something like that?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it was a little. It's a small panda. I liked May, especially as it went on, and you found out more about her. And I did like the alchemy side of things, and
Hmm.
where they were like, "There's something wrong with the alchemy in this country." Like they kept
Yeah,
saying that her and Lee and all of that. But her story was very interesting, and like her like really wanting to meet the Full Metal Alchemist and
yeah,
like thinking he's gonna be this hunk and all of that. Like so good. But
my prince.
my prince, but having that juxtaposition of like the Mestrians, the and then the Jing, like the different clans trying
Hmm.
to find immortality because of the emperor and everything. And then you have, Scar with the Ishvalans. Like you've got all of these different cultures mixing in together. And for the, establishment, the, military side of things, they're not about that. But you see the normal people, they're willing to work with each other. They're willing, they are happy to be around people that are different. And
Hmm.
I thought that was really cool because Scar, this hardcore, I'm going to kill everybody, is totally fine with May being around him
Yeah,
and healing him using alchemy.
yeah.
And it's that like he's not going to kill a kid that's that little, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
So it's that softening of him. I think her being around, like if she wouldn't have shown up, he would have never
yeah.
changed.
He would, yeah, he would have never mellowed.
Yeah, exactly. Ling.
That was the guy who became the
Yeah.
new greed.
Yeah, exactly. But
So,
yeah, I
what
like
what did
May.
you think of him? Because obviously the first greed, forgettable. But when he basically became greed in like that inner fight, because it was greed for the most time, and then Ling fought back for a little bit to at least take the wheel. Like his development was that, like, again, because he's also what, the prince, I think. And then he
Yeah,
had those bodyguards were very intriguing. Like they're very capable. Like their whole
yeah,
fight with King Bradley was really cool.
yeah.
Um,
With
but
Fu,
yeah, and so what did you think of him?
I liked Ling. Especially later. I thought he was really annoying in the beginning.
True.
Pretending to be a beggar and all of this kind of stuff. But it was funny because he is like the 11th prince and in line to the throne and
Yeah.
everything. But it makes it this, like, again, they're chasing after this philosopher's stone, but his transformation, like he's like, I am willing to give up anything to get my goal,
Hmm.
which again, it is saving his family and his country. It's not just like
Yeah.
a selfish thing. He is after trying to save a lot of people,
Hmm.
unlike the homunculi, which are all about themselves,
Right.
which I think that is a really cool
Dichotomy.
storytelling. Yeah, exactly. Um, but the greed that we see the second time around, having to fight with Ling for control, and having Ling constantly like interrupting and fighting him or even telling him stuff, and then they start to be able to work together and start switching depending on the situation and everything.
Hmm.
I thought was so nice. And then what happens at the end with greed, and it's like he's like wanting the world, and he has an opportunity to take it, but it's more of he wants friends.
Yeah.
And the whole reason he snapped was because one of his friends from the former greed showed up and he lost it.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's literally all he's wanted. He says he wants everything, but actually all he wants is people that rely on him. The power of friendship, Derek, is
Yeah.
strong in these shonen.
Oh yeah. Piggybacking off of that, Kimberly, like his like whole like I know he didn't I don't think he if I remember correctly, he wasn't in there for long. He was in there for a good stretch, but not very like super long. But like
Yeah.
him just having like a philosopher's stone under his tongue the entire time and being able to just get like a quick boost. Like
Yeah.
what did he do anything for you as a villain?
Kimberly was interesting because we saw him from the get-go, episode 1. So he was literally around the
Dang.
entire show in
Yeah.
small parts. Like he
Yeah.
never was like super huge. He definitely was more involved when we got to Briggs.
Yeah.
And you saw like the links that he was willing to go for when he was like in the Ishvalan extermination and everything.
Yes.
But I thought he was kind of I thought it was interesting when he got the northern I can't remember the name of the northern nation above Briggs to come and attack them, so he would have the
They were essentially like the Russians, I think.
Yeah, the sacrifice for them to be able to have that spot
Enact the further flight. Yeah.
But
Go ahead.
overall, I think he's kind of a wasted character. Like
That's fair.
He's interesting, but the very end where he's inside Pride because he gets swallowed up, and like him challenging him or whatever, I thought that was just kind of out of nowhere. Like it felt a little like, oh, we got to push this in there. Like that was my only thing, and possibly the manga explains it a little bit better, but it just felt like, we've got to save this kid because we can't, kill the kid. You know what I mean? Like that's what it felt like.
I mean, you can, but also like for shonen, it's like you don't want to toe that line too much. But yeah, speaking of killing, which was the more impressive death? Like Mustang get back? Was it him killing Lust or was it him killing Envy?
I definitely Envy. Lust was a good fight, like the first time we see something, but Envy, which it's just like just over and over and over, and then the emotional moments right after that where literally it takes Hawkeye, Scar, and Edward to pull him off the brink and everything. And it taking Scar as part of that, like again, showcases the storytelling of Full Metal. Like it was just
Scar
so
would
good.
have killed, because I think he was also wanting to kill Mustang when he first got to the city, when he was hunting Full Metal, and like Scar would have killed him on the spot. He's like, oh, he's in like a blood rage right now. Now his guard's down. Now's the perfect time to just kill him. But no, he stopped him.
Yeah, exactly. And like that fight, like where Mustang is literally just over and over like getting him, and how Envy is like, I didn't catch this until like literally this point.
Yeah.
Envy being jealousy is a green-eyed monster, and he's literally a green little monster when he is like in his base form. And I'm just like, there it is. There, I'm like, look at that. Look at that. It was just such a little thing.
Yeah, I'll say like the act, like living up to the motto was really cool, and like even like Envy had an interesting arc. Like obviously you knew it was going to happen. Like you knew Mustang was going to meet Envy and get his lick back for Hughes. But like just seeing Envy like deform into that creature and then like trying to get back into his regular form, because they hint at it as like, oh, like he's taking heavy steps, like why all of a sudden is he so heavy, and then you see him transform into this like giant like lizard looking thing. I'm like, Envy is like, the sin of envy is ugly. Like no, like you don't want to, like it's not a good look on you, and he lives true to that. And man, like just seeing like in the going back to like the sewer scene where like just he finally catches him and Mustang is just going off. It's like that final like growl before he does the snap to finish him off. Because I feel like while Lust was like intriguing too, like just seeing her like scream over and over as he's like just burning her.
Yeah.
And like, because she thought, oh, I finished him because she punctured his side, and then he like a baller move, just like flame seals it. Cauterized the wound, and it's just like sitting there with a flamethrower, just going like boom, boom, like, and like he's testing the theories, like is his alchemy strong enough to kill a homunculi? Because he's planning ahead. He's like, if I can kill one, I can kill the other one, and when I find that jerk that killed Hughes, it's on like Donkey Kong. I will immolate you 1,000 times if I have to. So, and just like seeing that, and like you said, just like the clay, like just it's like a maestro conducting the orchestra. He's just like, and I'm like, bro, this man has had all this anger pent up for a while. Like it was such a glorious moment to see him like, and I remember like watching it for the first time, and I'm just sitting there like mouth agape, like, holy cow, man.
Well, the first time I'd seen it, I showed it to you, was literally a meme of it was SpongeBob. Squidward getting just like destroyed
until it becomes a hunk.
Yeah. And then like SpongeBob and Patrick are on the side where Hawkeye was. So it's like I had seen it in a way, but I hadn't like seen it.
Yeah.
To brag on Mustang when they are like essentially doing the coup and everything, like him using his flame alchemy to disable, not kill anybody. Like he literally could have killed all the soldiers he came in contact with, but he was using it to essentially take them out of the fight, but not maim or kill. It was just getting them out of the fight. And I thought that was so good, because he's like, I don't want to kill these people because they're not the ones doing this. They are just following orders from
they know not what they do.
Yeah. So I know we're getting like a little long in the tooth here, but let's get a few more questions.
Yeah, I have 2 more questions that I definitely want to ask, because it leads into my, like what you just said leads into my next question. The twist that the Fuhrer, the leader of this country and this army, is a homunculi that's just pretty much playing into Father's plan. And then not only that, his son Salim, quote unquote, is also Pride. Or Pride.
Yeah,
and it's
Pride.
just like because Bradley is Wrath.
Yep.
So to find out that the top brass, and then his son, who pretty much I feel like is like over him in a sense, like hierarchy wise, is like over him, like puppet stringing him. I'm like, bro, like that is like, I felt like obviously like you could kind of like you knew Bradley was working with someone, but you didn't know he was a homunculus essentially until that reveal. I feel like Pride's reveal was much more like, what the crap is going on? You just say, because you don't see a lot of the kid, you just see like shots in here, and he's just like, oh, okay, father, just like what every kid is,
like a normal kid. Because I actually felt bad for him because Bradley was a homunculi. And it was just like when the reveal happens, because you see something in the tunnel under Briggs, like killing all the people and all of that. And it's like, oh, wow. Okay. What is this? This is clearly another homunculi. And then like you later find out when Hawkeye, and again, Bradley breaking up all of Mustang's people and then putting Hawkeye in his office as like his attendant or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it was like, I'm watching you be on your P's and Q's or she's going to die. And it's like, oh man, this dude's so like,
yeah, I know. The fact that he does the chest move is like, I know that you know, so I'm going to make sure you keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, exactly. And Mustang, like literally talking to the top brass, he's like, yeah, he's a homunculus. And then they go into that meeting. He's like, hey, tell him that funny joke that you told me out in the hall about the Fuhrer being a homunculi. And then Bradley comes out. It's like, yeah, tell me. It was like, oh my God.
Right.
But when Salim reveals himself to Hawkeye, it was like, oh
Mhm.
my God, this is way worse than I thought it was going to be. Because, like, I felt bad for the kid.
Yeah, because then you're wondering, it's like, all right, is the wife involved or is she just innocent?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, like that whole reveal was so well done because it's like it's something you don't expect. Like,
Hmm.
obviously, yeah, it's almost like a diversion tactic. It's like, all right, focus on Bradley. He's the one, like he's the one controlling everything. He's the cause of all the wars that create all these deaths to create a philosopher's stone. Like he's the one that he's pretty much like the right hand man of
Hmm.
father. And then Salim, you find out it's actually Salim that's controlling Bradley, and that's been controlling everyone else that pretty much all the other homunculi report to. And
Yep.
and then like, and in a sense, pride is like yes, the sin of pride is like very like boastful, like very egotistical, like
Yeah.
obviously, but it is also plays into his kid persona where he's just like, I'm gonna get my way and I
Yeah.
don't care. Like I'm going to pretty much break your arm to get my way. And like that's a very much like a spoiled brat. And
Yeah.
like just pretty much see that come out in his powers. Like every time you see the shadows come out, I'm like, oh crap. Oh
Yeah.
crap. Gotta get rid of it. Get this to light.
Well, and thinking that he is more important than anyone else, like him eating
Mhm.
gluttony and then eating, gosh, what is it? Kimball,
Oh yeah, Kimberly, yeah.
yeah, Kimberly, like that, very prideful. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like thinking that you are so much more important. Definitely puts him in that position and everything. And him forcing, and again, it's like that I'm prideful, and it was like a last ditch effort or whatever. But him
Mhm.
forcing Mustang to open the portal,
Yeah.
dude, that
Dude.
was. Oh. And then
That was
Mustang
and
losing his eyesight, I was like, oh my God.
dude, I know, like, how is he gonna hit anything with this? Like, it's
Yeah.
but then Hawkeye comes in who has like the sharpest eyes in his entire
Yeah.
like in the entire show. But yeah, like that whole reveal of like because you've when Mustang got summoned there, you're like and like we're gonna this is my last question. Like the final plan, like father's all important final plan, pretty
Hmm.
much creating a world-sized transmutation circle. And he
Yeah.
needs like several alchemists to do this, but he doesn't have enough that have seen the truth, have
Yeah.
been to the truth gate. And he's just like, Mustang, you're here, you'll do. Force him to see the truth. And then it's ironic because it's like, oh, you see the truth, now you don't see anything. And
Yeah.
like just having that and just like you feel for Mustang because like I said, he's had such a good arc and he finally got revenge for Hughes, but now he knows that the war's not done. He knows that the people higher up that he's got to go up the ladder to just eliminate it. And the fact that he gets there and it's just like loses like one of his most important features, and it's like, bro, like you feel for
Yeah.
him, but then just seeing this all like the whole plot play out, like you're talking about, like just layering of the storytelling. Like we start from one point, finding the Philosopher's Stone, to basically like I'm going to engulf the world in a transmutation circle, and open a massive gate, and then von Hohenheim coming in. It's like, oh, you've been planning. That's cute. I've also been planning. I've created a counter transmutation circle. So that's why he's been so absent for
Yeah.
since the entire show. And he's been going to the same places essentially that father has been to basically counteract. So von Hohenheim played the long game. He's like, I don't know what you're doing yet, but I don't like it. And then when he figures it out, I was like, I got to course correct this because it's going to play out eventually. And
Yeah.
he was right. And the counters was, and initially it wasn't as strong. And then like, Ed and Al have to pretty much like tap into their power. Like it's like power of friendship, essentially. Like everyone
Yeah.
has to pretty much play to counteract. It was so well done, in my opinion. Like
Well,
it
and then
was
you've
so,
got Scar's brother's research that
oh yes.
changed because like there was like an interference because of the homunculi
Yeah.
with the tectonic plates and everything. So like having all of that in there was so interesting.
Like again, mouth agape moment when it's like you think it's like, all right, how are they going to get, villains unleashed his master plan? Like, how are they going to get out of this? And then von Hohenheim shows up just like just like struts his stuff, and it's like, and even before that, like when Pride, like the final battle between Pride and Al was going on, and like pride is just playing on Al's emotions, and it's like almost trying to capture him. Von Hohenheim shows up, and it's like feels like that moment from Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 when Mama Weasley shows up. It's like, not my daughter. It's like Hohenheim shows up, like, not my son. So you leave them alone. So, and like Von Hohenheim shows up again. And he's just like, you're very full of yourself. You think that I didn't have this plan. And then like, you just see him just like, the whole counter transmutation circle appear. I'm like, bro, this is so great. Like, it's just so well done. And it's a very nice bow on this whole like saga that, has started from episode 1.
Yeah. Well, and again, character development, Scar fighting Bradley,
Yes.
the man that literally caused the whole Ishvalan war and essentially all the death over in his part of the country, him finally getting to the point where he's like, I've got to use the creation part of alchemy to win. If I don't, I'm going to die. And then you see his hand go down and the spikes go up. I was like, oh my God, we go in here. Okay. And then, dude, like that whole thing was so good. But when like, I literally love that it's called Our Father, like because he becomes God, essentially, like him, like opening the door, consuming God, the truth or whatever. And dude, like that was scary. And then like all the mutation circles and all of that, or to break that, and then he loses all the souls and everything. That last fight though was insane with all the different things going on in there. People trying to take him out and literally everybody and their grandmother having to fight Our Father. Like,
brother, it was just so well done because we didn't even get to the part like Ed and Al's teacher. Like she plays an important part too, and it's like she gave up something. Like she also tampered into the taboo of human transmutation for good reasons. Obviously it's always for good reasons, but sometimes the best laid plans are not it. And you find out what she lost, and it's just like, man, I don't know who had it worse, but because it feels like she's on borrowed time because she also got sucked into this too. Yes, a housewife.
A housewife.
And side note, her husband and Armstrong becoming like essentially best friends against the sloth fight was just so great. Both of them bust out of their shirts. I'm like, all right, we have a moment here.
I loved it though. It was great.
It was. But yes, all of it was a great fight. And like to Nate's point earlier.
I know which one you're gonna go. Before we hit that, like the fight was so intense. Like,
yes,
it was so intense. And his like that moment when he was like, oh, you don't want me to kill people, you want me to create people, and then he creates all the people from Xerxes, and the king shows back up, and then the teacher's baby is there. I was just like,
dude, like you got what you asked for. You did. It's not what you wanted, but you got what you asked for.
Like, I was like, holy crap, that is some maniacal bull crap that he's pulling right here. And fight goes on, all this crazy stuff. There's a moment where he is trying to get a Philosopher's Stone. He is willing to kill anybody to get some sort of Philosopher's Stone to stay alive. And like there was a huge attack. Like Alphonse is literally like nothing to him. Like his armor is like totally destroyed. And then Edward is literally a rod through his arm. His arm is like robot arm, totally decimated. And then Alphonse is like, I'm going to sacrifice myself to get his arm back. And I was just like, holy crap. Holy crap.
It was like the goal that they've reached was for so long. It was right there. And then one of them, you think in the moment, one of them's not going to make it.
Yeah. Like, again, good storytelling. And he gets his arm back. They beat him and all of that. You need to go watch that if y'all haven't seen it. But Edward giving up his alchemy because like he doesn't really have anything to give other than that would be worth his brother.
Right.
But giving up his alchemy, like I had seen it beforehand, like somewhere, like I was somehow I got a little spoiled on that. But it was just such a good moment where he's like, yeah, I don't really need it anymore.
Yeah.
He's like, I'd rather have my brother than my alchemy.
Yep.
And dude, that was such a touching moment to see in this show.
It's like, I'd rather give up the thing that I'm known for and that everyone in the world pretty much does just to have at least one member of my family back.
Yeah. And you know, seeing like Alphonse, like his body that's been there and everything, like just so emaciated, and like there's a whole thing that we could discuss on all of that. But seeing him come back, he's in his body, and then like him getting healthier, they going to see Winry and everything, and then we get kind of the flash forward where
Ed and Winry are married.
Have 2 kids, and May and Alphonse are together and everything. And Ling is now the
king.
He's the emperor over Jing and all of that. And just the way they tie this up, I felt it was like the perfect bow to an anime that I've ever really seen. You know, because a lot of times they peter out or they just keep going.
Right, keep going, or not everyone gets a happy ending.
Yeah, and like none of it was necessarily all happy. Like there was definitely, you know, turmoil in the show, but the way they wrapped it all up was so good. And man, just the way they took down our father and everything was great. I'm glad that I watched this. I'm in a way, I kind of wish that I could forget it and go back and watch it again.
I know. It's like there's a thing on TikTok where they have like 9 squares where it's like first anime, favorite character, and one of them's like one you could wish you could watch for the first time again. And you know, that'd be yours.
Yeah, like I think I probably would, just because it's so good. Man, I absolutely love this show. The music as well. I know I talked about that in my other video, but the music, like it is an older anime, so they don't have as many songs, but I loved the themes that were in there. And
none of them like, you talking about like the opening and ending themes?
No, I'm talking about just like the music within the show.
Oh, got you.
Like it felt very like European, like Western European, like
true.
I get just so good. And like you had this motif for like the homunculi and everything. It just everything hit so well and so good.
So, and yeah, and like even like to wrap up on the ending, like Ed going out there and like wanting to like study other forms of alchemy and teach alchemy to other civilizations too, like kind of what von Hohenheim did, was like a very nice little again, like you said, a nice little bow on the show, because it's like it comes full circle, pun intended.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Nate says it had some banging intros and the endings. Which like now that I hear like some of the songs, it's like, oh yeah, that's good stuff.
oh yeah, I'll say it really, like some of the end, like there's like one or two endings that don't really hit, but like pretty much all the openings slap. Like that's one of the rare shows that like all the openings pretty much are really good.
You want to know a secret, Derek?
Oh boy, here we go. Here we go. You're gonna make me hate you, aren't you?
I might have listened to one intro. I don't have time, dude. I gotta maximize as much of the episode as I possibly can.
It's a minute 30.
Exactly.
If you are really hurting for that kind of time, you have your priorities messed up, my guy.
Dude, I get an hour for lunch. I have figured out where I can get 3 episodes in if I skip intros and outros. I literally have it figured out. So don't at me. I'm over here doing the.
Oh, I will at you, Mister. I got my degree in music and doesn't listen to the music of the show. Get out of here! Give me your degree. I'm gonna rip it up, throw it in the fire. I'm gonna get Mustang to burn it like he burned Envy.
Don't mess with me, boy.
Oh, I will. I want all the smoke.
Yeah, well, trust me. I'll give it to you. Guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Eat Sleep Anime. It was a surprise episode. You didn't know you were getting it. Nobody did. No. We didn't even know until I finished the show, and I was like, hey, let's do this. So make sure to check out all of our other content. We'll be putting out more and more anime stuff out. We've got a show later next month. Will be our next show, and you can check out all the cool stuff that we do with NerdCave News. But have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the night. This has been Zach
and Derek.
Have a blessed week. Bye-bye.